You beeped y'all. That's so
I'm going
mean.
to.
Do it. Let's see what happens. So, Chad, what we're doing here is Jeeps has got an an air thing on her, an air tag,
Mhm.
and Jessie has learned that when she beeps it, uh, um, Jeeps does not like. Did she run upstairs? Where'd she go?
Jeeps ran upstairs, and Roxy followed her. So I don't know. She's going to hide in the bedroom.
we break the dog. Is what happens. We basically break her because she.
But hey, it breaks them up.
It breaks
They
them up
stop
when they fight.
fighting.
Yeah, so
It's a bit more humane than an electric dog collar.
It's a mess because what we do is when Jeeps won't come in too, like she'll be out in the backyard and she won't come in. So Jessie just beeps her and she comes running.
She comes running.
Comes running. Sure,
It only takes like one quick beep. I don't let it go long. It's like one quick beep. Oh wait, they're back.
No, that's Rox.
Oh,
Jeeps is
Rox is
broken.
back.
Jeeps is under the covers.
What's wrong?
She's like, Jeeps is broken, Mom. Sorry. Okay. Hey guys, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Giving us 1 second just to propagate throughout the internet. We're gonna get started. Tonight we've got Andy on the show. Andy Wright. I think your last name is Wright, correct? Andy Wright. He wrote a post of 5 most controversial things about geocaching. We're gonna talk to Andy's in the UK, so cut him some slack. It's like 2:30 a.m. there, so the fact that he's with us is a plus. We're gonna hope he's gonna stay awake through we do our ancillary stuff. So let's get started, Chad, so we can let poor Andy go to sleep here. Here we go.
Right.
We're going to go in. Let's make sure this is all set in 3, 2, 1.
You want to know how to find it. Seek it out when they hide it. You know it's in the bag when it's an easy grab. Come on, take a chance now. So go, geocache. If you need help, we're right there in a flash. If you got a question, just call in and ask. I'll cover the stash. On the Geocaching Podcast. The Geocaching Podcast.
Welcome, everyone. It's Wednesday. It's 8:30, which means that it is once again time for the Geocaching Podcast. My name is Scott Perks. I'm joined by my first co-host in the next room, Shorty Nitz. Hey, Shorty, what's up?
Hello.
Hello. And please welcome to my virtual left, my other co-host, Jazz427.
Howdy, y'all. Let's get into a bit of controversy.
That's right, Chad. Tonight's episode 713, recorded live on April 13th, 2022, is the 5 controversial things about geocaching. Phone lines are indeed open tonight, guys. You give us a call, 808-468-7924. That is 808-GOT-SWAG. And for you international callers, you can call us free via the web at callinstudio.com/show/GCPC. Hey, Chad.
Howdy.
You've been quite the controversial boy as of late, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've been a naughty boy apparently.
Naughty boy. We're not getting into that tonight, though, Chad. But you've been a naughty boy. You've been naughty. Yeah, you are not looked bright upon on Facebook in certain groups,
but approved by the cache owner. So,
Chad, we're gonna talk about before we get started. We got to talk about Patreon, guys. It costs a lot of money to make this show work. We could really use your help. There's 2 ways you can help us out. You can go to PayPal, make a one-time donation. It's paypal.me/the Geocaching Podcast. Or, Chad, you join Patreon, Chad.
Oh, yeah.
Patreon, guys. Extra video, extra audio, only available to our Patreon members. You got Patreon-only shows. You got stickers and path tags and coins, all this good stuff. Chad, do you know what I ordered 2 days ago?
What'd you order 2 days ago?
2 days ago, I ordered... Jesse, I want to say buttons, but it's not right because we already give away buttons at events we go to. Jesse, what were they? It's a soft enameled button. Is that what it's
pins?
Called?
They're pins.
A button. A pin.
A pin.
Oh,
like a hat pin.
A GCPC hat pin.
A hat pin. Much like in the same event, I took the direct mold from our path tag. So it's our path tag made into a pin, Chad.
Awesome.
It's quite awesome.
You're gonna have to mail me one of those.
Oh, I'll get you one. Don't worry, kid. I'll get you one. So those are coming. So you see us, at an event or anything, you say, "Hey, dude, give me a freaking pin," and maybe I will. So so that's not even just patrons. That's for anybody. But patrons, dude, I have locked up the next 4 weeks of videos, Chad, already banked.
Yeah, so you're in Santa Claus's lap.
I was. Well, we were. Jesse was.
Santa Claus, Indiana.
I've got more. I just edited everything. I got one more video to edit, but I got next 4 weeks locked up, so it's nice. So hey guys, you got all this good stuff, all this extra audio, all this extra video, only available for our Patreon members. We got Patreon only shows coming up soon, and it's going to be some fun stuff coming in. So yeah, so anything you guys can do to help, much like Chad, Biddy Bop No out of Milton, Florida. Biddy Bop No.
Biddy Bop No.
Biddy Bop No loves the show. He knuckled up, became a platinum tier, Chad. The good tier.
Awesome.
He's getting one of the few coveted coins left. And when I say few, I mean it, guys. You think I'm kidding. One day I'm going to be like, we're done. He gets one of the coveted ones.
I gotta say that's a great caching name.
What is Biddy Bop No?
Biddy Bop No.
Biddy Bop No out of Milton, what is it? Milton, Florida?
Yeah. It just rolls off the tongue.
I think I'm saying it. Biddy Bop. Yeah, I'm saying it right. So anything you guys want to join Patreon, you come on to the other side. You get all the extra good stuff. You can. You go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/the Geocaching Podcast.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Cachely. Cachely is an advanced geocaching app for iOS. It features powerful online and offline features, including filtered searches, offline maps, and offline saving of caches. Cachely has hundreds of advanced features that will make your geocaching experience just that much better. Get more info at cachely.com. That's CACHLY.com.
And tonight we're also sponsored by Logwork. Logwork are the creators of the fantastic logbook, made with genuine Write-in-the-Rain paper. The logbook designed for the micro containers of the present and future, geared towards the hider who would rather go cache than do cache maintenance. Find them at logwork.com. That's LOGWERK.com.
It's also brought to you by FTF Geocacher magazine. FTF Geocacher is the magazine for geocachers, written by geocachers. With 6 issues a year, FTF offers practical advice, hints and tips, cacher bios and milestones, geocaching events, trail tales, and all things geo-related. Find them at ftfgeocacher.com.
And by the Max Suds Body Company. Max Suds Body Company makes handmade bath and body products from all natural oils and butters, such as Poison Bee Gone soap, Itch spray, and 2-cent choices of bug spray are all great for outdoor enthusiasts like geocachers. At Max Suds Body, we have you covered from head to toe. Find them at maxsudsbody.com. That's MACSUDSBODY.com.
Chad, that's the easy one.
Yeah, and I always
Flounder
manage to
and by Practical Geocaching. Practical Geocaching sells utility items for geocaching. Our items are always made in the USA, and we always provide free shipping. Find them at practicalgeocaching.com. That's PRACTICAL geocaching.com.
And by Arted Crafted. Arted Crafted creates unique geocaching themed tees and custom designs for you or your geocaching group. With adult sizes ranging from small to 5XL, if you have an idea for a shirt design and cannot find it, then you've come to the right place. Please give us the opportunity to show you how we can enhance your caching experience with your own custom design. Visit them at artedcrafted.com. That's ARTEDCRAFTED.com.
And by pattags.com for all your swag and pattag needs. You're in my head now. Visit our website to get creative help, to trade or log tags, or to purchase your own personalized pat tags. With over 43,000 tags to collect, pattags.com is everything you need to start your pat tag obsession. Visit them at pattags.com. That's PATHTAGS.com.
And by Geocaching Adventures LLC. Geocaching Adventures is a full-service travel agency specializing in creating the ultimate worldwide geocaching adventures for cachers and non-cachers alike. What could be better than having your geocaching bucket list vacation all planned out and led by a traveling expert? Learn more by visiting us at geocachingadventuresllc.com. That's geocachingadventuresllc.com.
And finally, by GeoGo. Go caching with GeoGo, the geocaching app for Android that includes a Where I Go player, trackable scanner, companion watch app, and county finds database. If you're an advanced geocacher, GeoGo helps with powerful features like nearby cache notifications, optimized routes, offline mode, bulk TB logging, and much more. Learn more by visiting us at geogo.com. That's GEOOH-go.com.
And always, Chad, you can find links to our sponsors on our website or
in our show notes.
In our show notes, Chad. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Well, doing better than you, apparently, when it comes to reputation.
Ooh. Yeah, well, your reputation can't go down much lower.
Right?
So.
I know. Mine's the worst. All right. We got poor Andy falling asleep, so we gotta get through everything we have to get through here. We got some mail, Chad. This is actually a really, really good email that could probably be its own show, but I'm not.
Mhm.
We're just going to touch on it, and I apologize to the sender because it could literally be its own show. Chad, you ready for this email?
Yes.
I want your opinion on this, and I want Jesse's too. Jesse would have a very good opinion on this as well. CJ Fish Music, which is a fantastic geocaching name, says, I recently adopted an old geocache, a 2001, and the terrain rating is at a 1, even though it is on a dirt path that no wheelchair can maneuver on. My question is, should I change the terrain rating to reflect the real terrain or leave it as it is?
I'm for changing it.
What do you do, Chad? Do you keep posterity the way it was, or do you change it? What do you do? Oh, I got Jesse. Jesse's got an answer too here.
I'm for changing it to make it realistic. It's not going to have a negative impact to anyone's DT grid.
How do you know?
Show me someone's DT grid where they don't have the one column filled for.
What if they had
they don't have a 1-1?
What if they use that cache to qualify for a challenge where you had to find different different sets of DTs in one day, and that was one that filled that one?
Remember, it's 2001. Jesse, what's your opinion?
Mm-hmm.
This is an old one. So when you do those challenges, it's locked in when you completed that challenge. So if they've already done it and already completed it and haven't logged it, that's their own tough luck.
Ooh.
So people like me holding out, that's another controversial thing. Holding out on challenges, on actually logging them, saving them for a rainy day. That's tough luck if you don't get there. I can't see how a 1-1 is really going to impact anyone.
Jess, opinion.
I agree with a few people in the chat room saying leave it as is. Nothing frustrates me more than an incorrectly rated cache. But if I see something as a 1-1 and we're hiking for 20 minutes and I'm like, this isn't a 1-1, obviously, and I see it's from, early 2000s, well, that's why it's a 1-1, right? Like there's a reason for it. I think those historic...
understand that, but bumping it to one, bumping that to, I'm not saying bump it to a 3 train, even if it is realistically a 3 train, but bumping it to a 1-5 so that you don't have the wheelchair situation. I mean, that's the real bad part.
But there's probably not the wheelchair accessible attribute on that cache, and I think that's really the real tell. I think some of the
wheelchair, if there's no wheelchair, see, but then you're messing with it. You're messing. Okay,
no, I'm saying that's not. If it truly is wheelchair accessible, then they should have the wheelchair accessible attribute assigned to that cache, and it's probably not, right? So, I mean, I'm of the mind that you leave those historical caches and maintain that history as they were when they were new, but put a note front and center in that cache description saying it's not really a 1-1 and here's what it really is.
And, to a degree, I'm in agreement with not changing DTs. We even had this discussion years ago with a multi that I had out there that was a fairly higher in DT level, and it was, when I placed it, it wasn't as high on the terrain side as what it had originally, or was when I was doing maintenance with 9 other people and they complained about it, and I had gone back and looked at the logs to make sure it didn't impact anyone else's DT grids before I change that DT. So I think if it's impacting someone's DT grid, I wouldn't do it, but otherwise I have no problem bumping a 1-1 to a 1-1.5. That's just me.
To me, I think if it was a 2004, 2003, maybe even 2002, I wouldn't care. But I think a 2000 and 2001, those are coveted caches. I would never even think of touching or tweaking anything on those. If
I
I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it.
I mean, I wouldn't tweak the cache page. I wouldn't tweak the hide. But this is a gray.
Yeah, I
it's
get
more of
it.
a gray area.
Get it.
Yeah.
To me, it's just, I don't know. Again, like I said, that's why I thought it was a great question. So I guess the answer is CJ Fishes. We're split. So
I mean, we got to remember there are a lot of grandfathered caches that
Yeah.
if it came out now, it wouldn't be what it is or was then.
Yeah.
And I think most experienced cachers understand that anyway.
I'd also ask CJ. So the person that he adopted from, was it the original cache owner? And if it is, what does the original cache owner think?
Well, the original cache owner never changed it. So.
Well, but the original cache owner may have never thought to change it. So maybe if you can contact the original cache owner, ask them what their thoughts are on it.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Andy, our guest today. Andy, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. I was about to say good morning. Good evening. Sorry.
Well, good morning for you. He's in the UK, guys. So it's about 2:40.
Hi, folks.
Andy, what do you think about this? I'm going to bring you into this real quick before we get
archive it.
Archive.
Well, you brought me on to talk about controversial topics, so bang, I'm in there. No, joking apart, it is a tough one. This, and I've come across caches that have annoyed me. I did one in a Cold War underground bunker once that was listed as a 5.5. When you get there, there's a 8-foot ladder. It's not really a 5.5, but everyone from all over the whole region all went to that one to fill their DT grid because it was an easy 5.5. And the owner admitted in a log, and I think edited the cache page there on reflection that it's not a 5.5, but I'm not going to change it because it messes up everyone's stats, etc., etc. So. Yeah, it is a tough one. I think it doesn't help with the issue over this particular cache we're discussing now, but it does raise another issue about what help cache placers, cache hiders, especially newbies, have in judging the DT. Okay, so when I've been caching a few years now, in the early days, someone developed a very simple little tool guide, which sort of said, is it the same size as this? Is it the same size as that? Just to help people. Because I think one of the things was, is it the same size as a Rubbermaid? And no one in the UK has got any idea what a Rubbermaid is. Okay. Well, I still don't know what one of those is. Yeah. Anyway, but I'm done. Maybe I don't want to know, actually. But I just wonder whether there's, I think I probably know the answer to this. Is the possibility of some sort of tool that just sort of guides cache placers through that process of saying, well, is it this big? Is it that big? Is it this hard? Do you have to climb a tree or whatever? What guidance are people actually getting to place it now? But as I said, that doesn't help with this situation, though. It's in the past.
Okay, so I hope we helped you, CJ. That's
we all agree to disagree.
We all agree to disagree. That's what it is. So good luck with that. Welcome, Andy, to the show. Hello, sir.
Hi.
So Andy, I'm going to start this. So I was surfing the geocaching web months and months ago, and I stumbled across Andy's website, and it's a blog, and I was reading a couple of the posts just because he's interesting. He's a good writer, and I came across 5 controversial opinions about geocaching, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I read it and I was fascinated. I'm like, oh, I got to get this guy on the show. So I contacted him and said, Andy, you want to come on the show? And he's like, absolutely. So cut to today. Here we are.
Here I am.
So Andy, welcome to the show. So let's talk about you for a second. Tell us about you. Tell us about your geocaching experiences. Tell us about the blog. Let's start with you. What's your
so caching name is Tent Man Tent. The name predates my caching career, as it were. It was my eBay handle years ago. I wanted just to be Tent Man, but that was taken, so I just stuck another tent on the end, and it kind of stuck. Tent Man Tent.
I never got my product.
Chad says he never got his product from me.
Well, it's funny, the eBay thing actually connects with my geocaching as well, because originally I joined back in the day where you could get absolute bargains on eBay, and mostly it was people selling memorabilia, things like that. I sold my childhood Doctor Who memorabilia collection on eBay. Okay, it was sitting. I know. It was sitting in boxes in the loft in the attic here. Not here, last house. And I realised that I'd not touched any of it for years. I talked about it. I still love, the classic Doctor Who series, but never did anything with it. So I just thought I'm just going to cash this in, and so I just started selling lead figures and books and autographs and things, and using money to buy lovely things like this beautiful acoustic bass, things like that, and just buy things that I was actually going to use rather than things that were sitting in boxes. And one of those things was an original 1963. That's the first Doctor Who, for all you nerds out there. William Hartnell children's colouring book, untouched, which I bought in a flea market for 20p in Cambridge or something. And it sold for £255.
What is that in American money? We don't know what that is.
What's that about? About $300.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I used that money to buy my very first GPS, which again, this is pre-caching. I was already into outdoor life, camping, navigation. I used to do orienteering, things like that. So I thought, I'm going to get one of those things. Find out, gather some information on where I've been. So for about 6 months, I was using this. It was a Garmin Gecko 301. Long before touch screens, long before color screens, long before paperless caching, it was basically an arrow in a distance. And I just used this and had fun. And one day I was on a train, actually, I've been up into the north of our county, about 30 miles away, did some caching. And on the train on the way home, I was just there browsing through this GPS, seeing all the data, the elevation I'd been through, where I'd traveled, this sort of thing. And the guy sitting opposite me on the train said, "Oh, hi, you been geocaching?" And I sort of said, "You what?" And he said, "Oh," and so the rest of the journey was him explaining to me that him and his wife, partner, did this crazy thing called geocaching. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. And the next day I went out and found my first geocache. And the rest is history.
Nice. And what year was that?
That was the summer of 2006.
Oh, okay.
2006. So yeah. For my first year or so, caching was very slow. There weren't that many caches out there. Then a big day out caching, well, certainly around here, a big day out caching might be 2 or 3 geocaches, 10 miles apart. There were no power trails, there were no drive-bys. They were all around it. They were all remote. They were all great big things, ammo cans or huge plastic boxes. There was no real community, not the one that I was aware of either. I've been caching for 4 years maybe before I met another cacher.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Never entered my head. I bumped into this guy at a cache. I was looking
somebody was hiding
at each other. Yeah. Well, I was by that point, yeah. And also my youngest daughter, who is now 24, called herself Lil Lottie, and she was a real daddy's girl. She liked all the camping and getting dirty and climbing trees and stuff. So she tagged along and we cached together. It was quite a nice bonding thing for a while.
Nice.
Of course, until she grew up and got bored of it and didn't want to hang out with dad anymore.
And so, what about the blog? Tell us
well, I never intended to start a blog. I always feared the commitment, and I got friends like that. Sarah Murphy, that was, who did the what's her handle? Geocaching Junkie.
Yes. Yeah.
She's got young children now, so she hasn't really had the time for it. But I looked at her, and she was blogging all the time and doing short little sort of BuzzFeed type things, 5 this, 5 that, as well as longer pieces. And I thought, I can't commit to that, and so I never did. My very good friend Jane, who is an editor and publisher, kept trying to encourage me to do something like this because she thought Andy likes writing. And I had from time to time done guest blogs, guest posts on Sarah's or other people's Peanuts or Pretzels, those guys.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, I did pieces on those as well. And so I had all these different bits I'd written all over the place. And she said, just put them all together in a book. I'm like, nah, no one's going to buy that. No one will buy a book of my blog posts. And then she said, well, why don't you just do a blog then? And so initially, my blog was just to be like an arc, a repository for bits and pieces I'd written. I'll just put them somewhere. Someone might read them. And that's how it started. So the first half a dozen or so blog posts on there actually are things that are published elsewhere, and I just stuck them on there. And then of course that changed my way of thinking, and I started to make little mental and physical notes, when I thought, oh, that's a fun one, I'll write about that. And that's how the controversial opinion one started. I started to realize that instead of having online discussions, arguments, world wars, whatever, I thought I was going to put this out there. I'm going to put a piece out there and provoke a bit of discussion. What was the phrase you used? Poking the bear, poking the nest. Yeah.
Well, let's poke the bear. Let's start poking the bear then.
Yeah.
And then you come on a podcast and you get, ripped on by callers and by a chat room. So let's
absolutely, looking for bring it on.
So this is so let's say this is Tetman Tent's 5 controversial opinions about geocaching. Okay, number 1, Chad, and I'm going to paraphrase some of these, and I'll let Andy talk about them. Number 1, where I go is the supreme cache type. Chad, here we go. I love almost all aspects of the game and all cache types. The simplicity of the traditional cache, the journey and exploration of the multi can take you on, and the nostalgia of a letterbox hybrid, and the rarity of a well-placed virtual. But there's something about a where I go that encapsulates aspect of each of them, and more besides. You English in your writing. You get more than a film pot under a bench, more than a short walk from a church to a tree, elements of problem solving, interaction with the environment, and a spot of technical geekery to appeal to the nerd in me. When I'm planning a day out or a road trip or a holiday, I always look for a where I go in the area. And some of them have been fabulous adventures. I don't care that it only results in one smiley, because for me at least, quality outweighs quantity. That's directly from Andy.
I agree with that sentiment, but I'm going to guess that the UK has not been invaded by the reverse where I go.
I've done a few.
Andy, where it goes have been so bad in the past. Like, just trying to get them to work. They're finally good.
Yeah,
they're
so
finally good, and then we got invaded with the reverse where I go. So now, at least here, it seems like the vast majority of where I goes are reverse where I goes, which everyone just goes and uses the website or tool to solve it. I mean, I solved the first few of them the hard way, but then after that. Well, the first 2 I did the hard way. After that, I started doing it with get two sets of coordinates, bisect, and then figure out which one of the 2 locations is going to be the final by going a little bit in one direction towards one of them. Check to see if I got closer or further away, and if it wasn't, backtrack and go grab the other one. But then about, I don't know, three years into reverse where it goes, I would say, someone came out with the solver online, and it's like,
that's it, you're done.
That's it, and then they just exploded. Sorry for
here.
What's that?
That's not happened over here yet. There are some reverse where I goes, but not many. I can count.
Andy, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, there's the solver thing is interesting because I've done a few of those.
Here's your response right here. Where it goes sucks. It was a good idea that went bad. Most of them just crash. That's from GSM Times 2.
I would say that was a true statement 7 years ago.
I agree with that as well.
Today, I haven't had one crash in years. Put it that way.
I love these comments.
Yeah,
Scott, you're wrong.
There just haven't been any published that aren't reverse. That's right. I agree with that. Yeah,
because nobody wants to create them anymore. They're like, A nightmare.
Maybe I should go create a series of real where I goes here in the SAC area.
Anybody want to
So
fight? with
one
Andy?
person can do them and then share the cords with everyone.
You can call. You can give us a call 808-468-7924. You can argue with Andy right here. It'd be fun.
Yeah, bring it on.
I will swear Gary not to share the cords with anyone.
I published my own Where I Go. Well, probably I hit a Where I Go a couple of months ago with 14 stages. Okay,
14 stages.
14 stages. Yeah,
man. Has anybody found that yet?
2 people.
I would be salty to feel those 14 stages.
That's not the point.
I put the first reverse Where I Go in Brazil.
Oh, did you really? Nice.
Yes.
So it's and you started the bad trend. So now it's like multiplying,
yes,
like
yes,
like mold in a house. It's just
one interesting little thing I spotted with a few reverse Where I Goes I have seen here, and for those of you who have never done one, in order to it's a cartridge that you can use on. It's the same cartridge for all of them, isn't it? The same Where I Go cartridge.
Yeah.
But in order to define which one it is, you have 3 code numbers. That's the cache owner normally puts. What I've come across is a few people who treat it like a multi. In order to generate those 3 numbers, you have to go to the coordinates to get information off plaques and benches and things. So you can't just get the numbers and solve it. You got to generate the numbers first. So
smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
And I hate
that. But that's cool. I could do a puzzle reverse multi.
So Andy, so you love these Where I Go so much, but how did they not crash constantly on you in like the early 2010s and whatnot? Like, how could you do Where I Goes when we used to have like Where I Go Survivor, where like 12 of us would have Where I Go on it, and like each one would drop off when they crashed, and the last guy standing won.
Hang on, could that gecko play Where I Go cartridges?
Yeah, like
no.
Because I looked it up. That thing looked ancient.
It wasn't even USB. It was some sort of serial interface or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what turned me off of them, was just the constant crashing.
Right.
Well, to answer your question, yes, it crashed all the time. All the time. But that's something that's sort of part of the challenge. I quite liked it. I kept thinking, initially I thought it must be me. I must be doing something wrong. I'll sort that out. And because the other half of the answer is I had an Android phone. All the people who crash the Where I Go app all seem to be iOS users. I got a Where I Go, a virtual pub crawl Where I Go just up the street here in Lincoln, and all the feedback, all the negative feedback from people who crash, all say I was using the iOS app.
Really?
No problem at all with that. Whether that's just my cartridge or not, I don't know.
So you're gonna look us all dead in the eye, Andy. You're gonna tell us Where I Go is your favorite cache type.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. You might be the only one.
Yep.
Wow.
No, I love it. Don't archive them. Don't grandfather them. Just improve them. I don't know if it's still true, but the whereigo.com was still in beta mode, I think, officially. Is that true?
Still in beta mode.
Yeah.
I believe so. I believe it's indefinitely beta mode.
Yeah.
It's like a Google app.
Yeah.
Indefinitely in beta mode.
All right. Moving on. Andy. Number 2, Chad. Cheats should be exposed. They're only cheating themselves is a refrain I often hear when discussing the latest round of armchair logging, code sharing, and answer swapping. Within days of having my trackable tattoo inked on my leg, its code had appeared on a page of cheaters' websites in Holland, resulting in scores of fake discoveries that persist to this day. Like many cache owners, I've had my share of suspicious logs, including some from people who seem to be able to cache on several continents on the same day. Some people genuinely forget to bring a pen, although it's not really that hard, is it? But there's plenty of other logs that are written by people who never set foot in the area. I don't often bother checking log sheets on my caches, but when I have, there's often been some names missing, and I have on occasion deleted their logs. I've had cachers who months later claimed to have been with another cacher at one of my Earth caches, and that the answers had already been submitted on their behalf. But they're not just cheating themselves. I don't mean that this is some sort of contest or that it's not fair. I don't believe, for example, that their fake logging diminishes my successes. There's no direct link between the two. Their cheating has not resulted in my not being able to solve a puzzle or find a devious cache. However, when you've spent time choosing a special location, making a bespoke container, and developing an amazing puzzle, only for someone to claim they have found it from the comfort of their living room, it's smart somewhere. It makes you wonder why you bother.
Chad?
Yeah.
The purpose of this, of course, is to promote debate. So I'm deliberately taking a hard line on this one, and I do recognise that whilst there are some of the things I'm alluding to there are clearly cheating. You know, pretending to be in Hong Kong when you're actually in your living room.
Right,
in
armchair logging.
Yeah, that's what it is. The whole thing about leapfrogging and all that sort of thing. Yeah, there's a debate there, which I think, for myself, I think, well, it's not something I would do, but it's not. Yeah, I don't call that out and out cheating.
Right.
It's just that's the way different people play it. Okay. The other thing, of course, is in the UK, we don't have enough big long roads to have huge power trails anyway, so it's not an option that's available to me.
In that same vein, Andy, you say it's okay for somebody to leapfrog. God bless, play the game the way you want. But why is it so bad for someone to armchair? God bless, play the. Hey, if you want to play the game by not getting out of your chair,
with leapfrogging, someone on the team has signed the log.
That's the difference.
Oh, so you're saying because the log is signed technically in the least sense of the term, it is signed. Whereas armchairing, no one's signing a log, which is in theory the game. If we're gonna put the rules of the game, I'm air quoting for you listeners, air quoting the game, you have to sign the physical log in order to log. That is officially when the log is cached and signed online.
Right. There was one character that I caught signing all the most popular caches around the world. So I caught him on the ape cache in Brazil because I still watch that because I like reading the logs and stuff on that one.
Me too.
And I saw it and I was like, okay, this person has a dozen finds and he found the ape cache. And that doesn't sound Brazilian. The name, it sounded French, so I looked it up. The guy was from France, Jacques something or other, I believe it was. And but he's logging the Lego one in Holland, I believe. All these other the original stash plaque and all these real famous ones. I was like, all on the same day, and it's like, yeah, I don't think you quite went around the world. And his account was summarily removed from geocaching.com.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Jesse, what's your thoughts on that?
Armchair logging?
In general, yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
You would do, but is it okay for someone else to do it, or is that truly cheating?
It doesn't hurt me. Whatever. I mean, I'm not going to make a stink about it. I'm not one to call people out.
If someone armchair logs one of
Whatever.
my caches and I find out about it, and I see the log sheet without it, I'm going to delete it. But I've never had to do that. It's not that I haven't deleted a log. I just haven't deleted a log because of armchair caching. So I actually deleted two logs just yesterday, believe it or not, ironically. Hadn't deleted one in probably 2 or 3 years. But I think it was a juvenile teen putting a bunch of filthy words in the as a cache log. And it's like, nope, that's not going to work. Delete.
Yeah, the only time I don't, to me, it's only challenge caches. I'll delete you if you didn't do my challenge cache, you didn't prove it, or that's the only way. Other than that, but challenge cache, people worked to actually find it, so they earned it. You got to kind of earn that. So that
I have an example, which is those. I don't know if you saw it. There's a webcam cache. I also love webcam caches in Antarctica, which has been there for years and had never been logged. And then someone logged it when you looked into what had happened, the cachers who had logged it online lived, I think, New Zealand, I think it was, off the top of my head. And they discovered that a friend of theirs, who wasn't a cacher, was going on a cruise to Antarctica. They persuaded them to take the webcam photo and then use that to log it. And they claimed first to find on this years-old webcam. So just by co-opting someone. So if I said, Scott, I'm just co-opting you onto my team, could you just nip around the corner and log that cache for me? Then I can claim Chicago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that. We've had people like come from out of town and bring their cache with and have people sign in and then take it back so people can get that state. I don't.
Now, what about an exchange cache? So there's a cache here near me that is an exchange cache with, I think it's in Switzerland. Yeah, the other side's in Switzerland, and you got to exchange information. But the cache owners say that basically that the Americans can also, if the Swiss sign your name in the Swiss log, that the Americans can claim the Swiss cache and vice versa. What do you think about that?
Personally, I wouldn't do it. But if other people do it, that's on them, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
I did it. There was a Peter Pan series of multis. Basically, there was some statues of Peter Pan that J.M. Barrie had put in different parks around the world. And you had to find the cache, which had half the coordinates for one of the other caches in another country. And the idea was you formed a team, swapped all this information, and then you could all log each other's. And after a while, I thought, my map now looks ridiculous. It looks like I've been to New Zealand and India and Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just changed all my logs to a right note. But
really?
I think it was Jess said just now that there are things I did in the very early days of caching. I look back and I think, that probably wasn't right, but I didn't know any better at the time.
Right. Sure.
Right. Maybe I'll do that with that Swiss one.
Like do a right note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, change it to a right note because I kind of feel bad about, I've been to Switzerland before, but not while caching. It's like lots of places I've been to. So it's kind of feel bad about having Switzerland in my list of countries because I haven't actually physically cached in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on, Andy. We got more here. Number 3, sir. It's fine to cache during the lockdown.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not fine to drive for hours if the current government guidance says to take just one episode of daily local exercise. It's also not been fine at times to hold gatherings of geocachers, so we can't. The UK reviewers did not publish events from the start of the pandemic and published no caches other than mega events during the first lockdown. Apart from that, things are pretty much open to interpretation. On social media, opinions are everywhere. And varied and are firmly held. I can't speak. Humanity is seemingly indifferent to issues such as climate change, hunger, and self-determination, but would eat its grandmother to make a point about caching during COVID. Twitter and Facebook are rife with opinion at the best of times, but the pandemic has brought out the worst in all of us. It is boredom, perhaps, that leads an otherwise calm 50-something to be triggered over someone's mentioning that they found a nano last night. Are we arguing because we've got nothing better to do, not content with living the best way that we can in difficult circumstances, or are we turning to others, wagging our virtual fingers, and making accusations of all sorts? Are we passing on the virus by touching a cacher? Do we all douse ourselves in antibacterial gel before, during, and after the search? Should we all grass up our friends like latter-day collaborators? Chad?
Wow.
I cached during the pandemic.
I cached during the pandemic. So
well, yeah, but Jesse, who's walking the dog right now or letting the dog out, says yes, but we only cached with each other. We stayed within our bubble. Jesse and our bubble, and I only cached with Jesse, and we only cached, and I think at some point we only hit caches that hadn't been found in a long time.
Yeah, when we were having the major lockdowns and stuff like that going on, there's no events, and I wasn't caching with other geocachers. I was caching solos since my wife does not cache, neither does my son. So, but yeah, I was like, We were allowed to go out and hike in the woods.
Demshar 2020 was my best year at caching. Fantastic.
Yeah, mine too.
Yours too. So Andy,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you also cached during the pandemic.
I did. Yeah, I mean, it's the background to this post. Obviously, this blog post was written during at some point. I forget the date. Some point during the pandemic, during the various lockdowns, and I'm also aware that I'm only really au fait with what the rules are here in the UK.
Yeah.
And in some cases, some of the rules were specific to my region at one point in a different region. So it's kind of hard to sort of say you can't do this when there are, maybe you guys in the States had different rules and different laws. But there certainly was one point where, which in that very first lockdown, where we weren't supposed to go out at all, apart from for an hour's exercise. And you felt that you'd been watched and judged if you were seen out on the street and so on. It's a bit like being on The Walking Dead, when you're going out, the streets are deserted and all this kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, it was like that.
We weren't supposed to drive anywhere. But I did cache, and then as the rules changed and lifted and became looser, we started going out. And there was, as you can imagine, different levels of sort of vitriol online about you shouldn't be doing that. Don't you doing that? You're going to kill my grandmother or whatever with your filthy germs and whatever. And it all got very heated. I'm sure part of that was because everyone was sitting at home typing away like this, and they should have been out caching or working maybe or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I understand that.
No, I remember during that time that we our reviewer stopped just for a little while. I think he stopped. He's just for a little bit. He stopped pushing caches live, just for a brief time. But I know a lot of cachers actually shut theirs down. They were firm believers of you don't go out, and they actually shut their caches down. Like they didn't archive them, but they basically shut them down. I know a lot of people did that. Yeah, disabled. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. So I know a lot did that. They were the people who were firm believers in, like you shouldn't be out caching. I'm going to stop you from going out if you.
We had COs here who were deleting the logs of people
really
caches during lockdown, which I think that's on shaky ground, because if your name is on the log, you claim the find. But it happened to me on one occasion. I just kept relogging it until I gave up.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse and I, we really didn't hunt. We mostly, and we even have videos for the patrons. We even have videos, during lockdown where we would go into the woods, and be by ourselves and be obviously social distancing. Nobody else was deep into the woods caching, and they were obviously caches that hadn't been hit in a while because they're deep in the woods. So you felt pretty safe there. I mean, hindsight's 2020. What we know now compared to what we knew then, we knew caching would have been fine. It wasn't. You weren't going to get COVID by touching a piece of plastic,
Right, and even then, I carried hand gel with me.
Oh, absolutely.
If I saw a fresh log on there, it's
yeah, absolutely, yes.
There's a comment there. I can see that it was discovered during the pandemic. As we learned more about it, that actually you're not passing on the germ on by touching a plastic Rubbermaid or whatever. That someone then touches a week later. You're not going to get it that way. But we didn't know that at first, did we?
No, that's what I'm saying. Hindsight.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It was like packages being delivered to the house and stuff. It was like you
burn it.
You pick up the package,
wash the groceries.
You bring it inside and then go wash your hands. Do happy birthday songs.
Yeah. The dirtiest thing in my house is me.
Yeah. So it's funny how what we didn't know and now what we know compared. But yeah, we Jesse and I didn't stop caching. We really didn't. We just were safer about it. Is what we were. But to us, it was getting out of the house. And we were never on a full lockdown, like you can't leave kind of a thing, like Shanghai is going on right now in China. But USA never got there. It was just more or less just like leave if you have to. But to us, it was mental. We had to get the hell out of the house. Like we had to get out. We had to clear our heads and get some exercise and walk.
Yeah, it's interesting. Every day, I check my Time Hop. If you're not familiar with Time Hop, it's an app that pulls in from all your social medias and shows you everything that happened on that day. And right now, this time 2 years ago, it was. it was pictures of me and Scott going out caching, and we had our masks on, and I mean, we didn't know at the time. Nobody knew, and
Yeah.
but it's just it's funny to look back at how much we changed the way we cached.
And it's also amazing. What's funny about this post is, or this number rather, is that there are so many what air quote, I'm air quoting again for you listeners, COVID cachers, what we call them.
Oh,
People
yeah.
who started
Oh, yeah.
caching during COVID. Those are COVID cachers.
Not just
Oh, yeah.
cachers, but just discovered the outdoors and our trails. Like
Yeah.
our local
Yeah.
forest preserve was packed. You couldn't get a parking
Packed.
spot there because
Packed.
everybody wanted to go walk.
Yeah, that was the same around here. It's
Mhm.
like all the parks and stuff always had their parking lots filled up and stuff with it, and I got tons and tons more hits from new cachers during
COVID cachers.
during that era than any other time.
Yeah,
I think it's particularly true of young families. I don't know what it was like with you, but I found lots of mostly mums, and parents taking getting their kids out of the house, and they found this thing called geocaching, and they were so grateful. So we had lots of young newbie cachers logging, because all the caches around here, most cachers around here have mostly found my geocaches, my hides. It's quite local.
Sure.
But suddenly there's kids finding them, and that's great.
It was
How
like
can that not be a positive thing?
It was like a second coming. I mean, I'm sure if I go to the chat room, anybody in the chat room, if you're a COVID cacher, raise your hand. Say I'm a COVID cacher. Anybody who started caching during COVID, I bet you we got one or two in the chat room right now. I bet you we do. Right or two that started, and that's a great thing. I mean, it makes me happy that the game that we play and love, is got a second coming, so to speak. I'm sure it took a monster jump. The spikes.
But I will say that 2020 was my second lowest year in terms of total finds, and the lowest being the year that I started, where I found 7 that first week in October, and then I didn't do anything for the next 130 some odd days.
I think I had like 600 in 2020.
I've almost hit our 2020 numbers already this year.
How many do we have in 2020, Jen?
656. I had 656.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I think I had like 600. We should roughly the same. We cached together. So I was around 600. Yeah.
I'm about 140x, or not. Pardon me, 14x. What my 2020 numbers.
I mean,
we
average
mostly because of the controversial snake.
2020 was my best year yet, and then 2021 I smashed it out of the park and beat that. And that's because, although you can see on the little graph of how many per month, there was periods of the year when I was hardly caching at all. But as soon as those lockdowns released, I was really going for it. I was doing hundreds in a weekend because it was this huge release. I get out there.
Moving along, number 4, Chad. Number 4, bring back webcam caches. By the time I started playing the game in 2006, you could no longer place virtual, locationless, or webcam caches. Virtual caches in particular had gotten out of hand. Originally devised as a way to bring people to places where it wasn't possible or desirable to hide a physical container, they had become devalued by being placed at unremarkable places for a range of unremarkable reasons. A virtual at the place where a couple first met but has no other notable features becomes just a number on the map and is as pointless as holding an event in a remote airport just to claim a find in the country. Yes, that was me, he says. This and other issues led to the grandfathering of non-physical cache types as Groundspeak returned to the original spirit of the game to hide things for others to find them. Oh, except for earth caches, because they were deemed to be intrinsically educational, not to mention the fact that the Earth Cache program was less of a headache for Groundspeak because it was overseen by the Geological Society of America and dedicated GeoAware for reviewers. So it's okay then. Oh, and virtuals are back, albeit for a limited form due to popular demand and in a controlled manner. They are awarded by HQ rather than developed by individual cachers, so a limited number of easier to police. So that's okay too. Then there's lab caches at Adventure Labs. The unkind might call them Poundland virtuals or virtual multis. I like them though. What's a Poundland virtual? That must be
Poundland's a store. Do you have dollar stores in the States where everything is $1?
Everything's a
It's
what?
dollar
A
store.
dollar.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
a dollar store.
Dollars.
Oh, gotcha,
We're
gotcha,
adopting
gotcha.
a Poundland version of something, just
Okay,
like a
fair-
cheap
fair
and
enough.
cheerful.
Okay,
Yeah, so,
okay.
so I don't know if you heard of. Yeah, so, carry on.
Gotcha.
You can't see what's going on. Okay. I love webcams. I love the repurposing of something which exists outside of the game for our own ends. While the novelty of seeing live images from the other side of the world may not have the same wow factor as it did back in 2000, there's still something cool about logging into a cam on Manly Beach to see if a friend's caching on their holiday. It feels like hacking for beginners. Rules on what you can do with webcams have certainly changed to protect the privacy of individuals, and the quality of images available now provides far greater detail than it did 20 years ago. Solutions have been found for problems surrounding virtuals and the grandfathered cache types, allowing Groundspeak to bend their self-imposed rules. I challenge them to do the same with webcams. I agree. I love webcams.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
love them. I love them. The problem is I don't think there's many left. I mean, that's such a kitschy early
Yes.
2000 thing to do.
So many got archived over the past couple years here in the
It
States.
just doesn't.
Yes.
It just does
Same
not
here.
really left. I know there's one at Wrigley Field that never became. Yeah, Jesse Gowd. Jesse, what was it? The Jesse made one.
I had one on
Open
Oh my God.
caching? Was it open
On-
caching?
yeah, right. On open caching. I had a webcam. I wonder
Right.
if that's still even active.
I don't think it even exists anymore.
Gosh.
But yeah, but that one never made it to Groundspeak. I would love for them to bring back webcams.
Well, I mean, what I've seen some people do, and I think somebody mentioned this in the chat room too, Scott, we've actually found a couple of virtuals that are at a place that also have a webcam. And the webcam, is just sort of mentioned as like an aside in the cache description. You don't have to take your picture at the webcam and post it, but you certainly can if you want to add a virtual.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's another issue which has developed over the last 2 decades, which is that of personal security, data, data protection, etc. That certainly in the UK here, if you've got a webcam in your house, you can't point it into the street. You can't capture.
Oh, really?
Really?
The public,
Right.
Joe Public, as we call it over here. Whereas no one had thought these things through 20 years ago.
Hold on, why can't I do a webcam with my Ring camera?
Hang on. Hang on.
Seriously.
Are personal security cameras treated that way, or are you just talking about ones that are free and open to anyone who wants to view the things on the internet?
I don't know what the actual rules are. I think things like Ring doorbells are clearly fine, but if they're pointing at the area that your property, your front door, as it were, I think it's more to do with public webcams, pointing down the street or on busy areas, things like that. People would object.
Okay.
So I don't know what the actual details of the rules are, but they're a lot tighter than they were 15, 20 years ago.
I don't know.
Here in the UK, anyway.
Right.
But I do love webcams, though. It is.
No,
as I say,
I agree.
hacking for beginners.
Here, Vince Rowe, Vince says privacy for others that may be around when the picture cachers take is the issue. Groundspeak can be sued. That's what that is what Brian Roth said on a different podcast. See, Brian Roth said on another podcast.
He said something like that before when we had him on the show as well.
Did he?
Now that
I remember that. I believe you. Yeah, that's a shame though, because who would sue Groundspeak because someone's in the background of a picture? That doesn't make any sense.
Who would sue McDonald's because they didn't realize that the coffee was hot
I mean,
and they can spill it on their lap and get
I
burned.
blame California for all that. It's all your fault.
Was that even California?
Oh God, it's all your fault.
Oh no.
What's wrong, Jess?
All right. Here's the story with my webcam. I shouldn't even pay attention. No, it got archived because someone said that the cam is not there anymore. Well, they changed their website and they changed the link to the cam. So the link that I have in the description
Oh, it doesn't work anymore.
doesn't work, but when you just go to their page, they have a link to the cam there.
Is the cam still there?
Yeah, it's still there and working.
Wow, look at that. There you go.
So that's a
Unarchived.
shame.
But how does that make? Okay, so technically, judging by Brian Roth rules, I can, if someone's got me in the background on a picture on Facebook, I can sue Facebook, right? Judging by Brian Roth rules of I can sue them if they're in the background of a webcam.
Now
I sue
we're
somebody
gonna
in
have
the
to moray out everyone in the background to post the pictures on there.
Yeah, and someone from California is going to sue someone for doing that, and this is more California nightmares that you guys bring to my freaking place of business.
Sounds more German than Californian for that kind of stuff. So sorry to any Germans out there.
Apologies to all the Germans out there listening in Germany. That's Chad. That's not me. So yeah, I
Hey,
love
I
it.
was born there,
Doesn't sound like they're coming back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think it's a matter of will. Yeah, if Groundspeak had the will to do this, they'd find a way of doing it. But yeah,
I can't believe
they
that
found a way to bring virtuals back, but they're not interested in webcams.
I can't believe that their lawyers actually said, "Well, someone could technically sue you if they see what muggle is going to see their picture on Facebook on geocaching in a post." You know,
Those California people.
It was in a. So we post pictures that we take in public spaces all the friggin' time on Facebook, or people do, and there's constantly people in the background.
I know. I'm suing somebody. I'm
gonna get facial wrecked on Facebook in the background of a post, and I'm gonna go sue.
I'm suing somebody.
Yeah, right.
Somebody getting sued. Number 5, charity work should be embraced. How is that controversial, Andy?
Because I don't know, are the rules the same in the States? We
Oh,
can't mention businesses or charities.
Right. One of the rules of cache placement is that it should not be used to promote a business of a charity or a nonprofit organization. You can't even name a cafe if you've hidden a cache near it. I get that. The coordinates and hint should be enough. But the reason given is that this becomes commercial activity. I can name a pub, for example, but I can't say that the food is excellent. That's advertising and therefore not allowed. Similarly, I can hold a tug-of-war event, but can't state that its purpose is to raise funds for a local hospice, air ambulance, or even a geocaching mega event. I get that too. I disagree with that as well.
I've got 3 caches with Starbucks in the name, but the Starbucks is in an anagram. So
Starbucks is in the anagram. Jess, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I had a cache that I put out, and I can't even remember what the name of the restaurant was, but like it was such a great name, and I put the cache nearby, and I called the cache that, and I wasn't. It was. I can't even think of what it was. I wish I could think of it because it was like such a great name for a cache. And it got denied. And so then I renamed it Name Taken.
I've had cache reviewers who have rejected events because the name of the restaurant was given in the cache page, not in the title, but in the cache page. So it's like, no, you can only do the coordinates. So I went in and I think I used Pig Latin for the name of the restaurant, but it was like, this is stupid.
Yeah. Events around here usually have the name.
It's like I said, this was different reviewers take the rules in different ways. So
there's a fine line between naming a place and promoting it. I think the example I gave was, if I hold an event in a pub, if I say this event is at the Brown Cow in this village, that's okay. If I were to say the event is at this excellent pub with a fine range of excellent and affordable beers, that becomes advertising.
Right. But the same thing said, like, I remember a geocacher around here years ago, I'm talking a decade ago, wanted to do an event to raise money for a cancer that he just realized he had. He wanted to do a cancer awareness event. Right. Wouldn't let him do it. They turned him down. You know. But I want to continue this. So Andy continues here. He says, except that Groundspeak again makes exceptions to suit its own purposes. This isn't so much a criticism as an observation. Geocoins are regularly made and sold to raise funds for charities. One of the first I found was originally sold to raise funds for a diabetes support charity. the first I owned to raise funds for the victims of 2011 Japanese earthquakes and tsunamis. There is no review process for the activation of trackables, allowing for owners to sell and dedicate tags and coins for all sorts of commercial, promotional, and charitable purposes. Groundspeak also allows itself to engage in commercial activity in the form of tie-ins with businesses and culture. A supreme example of this is Project Ape Caches, an entire cache type introduced solely to promote the Planet of the Apes films. Recent years have similar trackable promotions with Tin Cup, Mountain Warehouse, Go Outdoors, Magic the Gathering, and Jurassic World. I
SpongeBob.
couldn't agree with you more. And most
yeah.
recently, SpongeBob.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
I'm just going to say this. Well, I don't necessarily agree. I think, we should be able to have events for charity. I mean, Aceto basically is charity, right? We're helping organizations, usually a park district or, street maintenance or whoever, clean up the area. That's charity work that we're doing.
Mhm.
But that being said, like, I get why they just put a blanket, no, we're not going to allow it under any circumstances. And that is, everyone believes in different things. And if I want to raise funds for an organization, in my mind, that does, then someone else can argue, well, I'm going to raise funds for an organization that supports something that most people maybe don't necessarily agree with.
Mhm.
And then you're picking and choosing, okay, we're going to allow it for this organization because in our minds, they're a positive thing or, they're for good, but someone else, no, you know what? We don't agree with their agenda. So we're not going to allow that. So you just can't allow it across the
Use
board.
blankets.
You just blanket, don't allow it.
Yeah, like I get that. I really do. I'm not going to mention it. I can think of. I've worked in the charitable sector. I can think of several charities which have diametrically opposing agendas. So
Right.
yeah, I get the
Right.
issues with it. I'm just poking the
Of
wasp's
course.
nest.
And of course, there are ways around it. So KC11 brought something up, and I was thinking about this. We did just here in this Chicagoland area have an event that was to raise funds for a charity. And the way that he did it was he directed people to a Facebook page post that had all of the information about the fundraiser and how to get involved and what the plans were and all of that. So there are ways around it, and there are events around here that we give donations to food bank.
Right.
Every year we do it, and everybody knows when that event comes around, even though I wonder if it even still says it in the cache description.
Oh, the
I know it used to years
Cheeseburgers in
ago, the
Paradise.
Cheeseburger in Paradise event.
Mm.
I know it used to years ago that, it was raising money for a
Yeah,
food
food
bank.
bank. Yeah,
But I don't know if they still do. But everybody knows that's what it's for.
Everybody knows what it's for. Yeah, by now.
The
It's for.
The reviewers here in the UK would make me remove a link to a third-party website like that, though. They would
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's happened.
Okay,
to me,
but is it kind of two-faced to say you can't do that, but then do it yourself? I know it's their ball; they can play any way they want. But what does it say about character when just do as I say, not as I do?
Theirs aren't necessary. Theirs are more partnerships with businesses, and they are a business, right? They're not raising funds for charities because I think charities can be controversial.
But they did before your time, Jess. They did a whole thing with diabetes where they had tags. They did the whole thing with that years ago.
But they are vetting the organizations here. With the ones that they partner up with, while they can't necessarily vet all of ours. That's
true. That's true. Yes.
Yeah, but if we put it on their website, they have legal responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So if we did it to say I did it and mistakenly had a scammer in there, it can go back and bite them. That's the big issue.
Yep, that's true. There's all kinds of legal implications.
And it brings the game into disrepute. I get that. Yeah.
Remember when the game was like the Wild Wild West and like there were no rules? The good old days. Yeah, it's hey, this is awesome. Bella on the Move says, "Finding creative ways to bend the rules is half the fun."
Oh,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
Well done. Yes.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to put my webcam back up on open caching because
Are you
you know
really?
what? Opencaching.us is the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, that is
I can-
legitimately is the Wild Wild West.
I can wait. What's this? I can make a podcast cache. Oh my gosh, I haven't been on this site in years.
Oh.
What is a podcast cache?
I don't know.
We got to make one.
I don't
think
know.
we need to make one.
Make one. So yeah, so I can't keep open caching still around. You know, if
Yeah.
here's a funny thing, this is kind of controversial. So Jesse had this cache up for years, and I don't think it even got found until we mentioned it on the podcast years later. And I think, remember, Jess, then somebody went and finally got it.
The webcam?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Is there
it
only still one
was.
hider on it? One finder?
Yeah, there was just one, and it was. Hold on, it was a listener of the show. Hold on. Let me see.
Yeah. Until we
archive.
actually mentioned like FTF is available on open cache. Dandy, do they even have open caching in the UK? Is that even there?
Maybe it has existed. I don't no idea whether it does now. Not interested, not bothered.
It was Acme Cachers is who
Acme Cache.
who found it. Yeah.
Yes. Houston
Yeah.
says a reverse podcast where I go.
Yeah, audio clue.
Cool.
Here's a podcast cache. Audio clues are recorded on an MP3 file that you can listen to for instructions.
Oh, okay. So that's
Yeah.
like a where I go. It's like an audio where I go.
Mhm.
I've got a Raspberry Pi broadcasting Tent Man Tent FM for 30 yards around here. You can,
Oh, nice.
next time you're UK, just pull up outside here, listen to my 15-minute radio show, and get the coordinates. So
Nice.
you can do anything with a mystery cache, can't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a catch-all.
And how often does that one get found?
Initially, quite often. Nowadays, once every month,
Really?
once every couple of months. Yeah. But I can't think of anything else to do my Raspberry Pi there. So it just
And how far does the podcast get pushed to? How far?
It will reach the main road. So in theory, about 30 or 40 feet.
Really?
But
That's not too bad.
yeah, I have to be careful because Radio Lincolnshire, BBC Radio Lincolnshire, is the end of our road here, and if I start interfering with there, because they broadcast on 102.2, I broadcast on 103.3. I have to be careful.
Very nice.
So you ever see anyone sitting outside and you're like, are they listening to my broadcast?
You mean curb crawlers? Yeah, people.
Yeah.
But slow driving down my street and just sort of pausing outside the house and fiddling with the radio. Yeah. Anyway,
Awesome.
We digress.
Oh, well, that's the 5G that's number 5. There you go. That is number 5.
That's the first 5, Scott. And I'd like to invite your listeners to suggest other controversial topics for me to write about.
I'm going to, before I forget, I don't want to forget to do this. I'm going to put your his blog is on the show notes, but I'm also going to I'm going to post it to the comments right now, just so it is also in the comments for people who are watching this later or even now. Sorry guys, I should have put it on earlier. But there is there's a link to his blog. Again, a link to his blog, and that post is in our show notes as well. Andy, you were awesome, buddy. Thank you so much for
my pleasure.
For staying up late with us and poking some bears. It was fun to do. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. You stay right there, all right? Give us 1 second. You stay right there. Chad, next week, and Jesse, I guess. Jesse too. Although Jesse's squirreling on open caching. And I know your face.
I am absolutely
totally
squirreling on the Wild Wild West opencaching.us.
Chad, next week, Chad, we're bringing back the man, the myth. We get on a boat coming on the show to talk about the Ohio Geoclash, Chad. Ohio Geoclash.
Ohio Geoclash. Is that new?
Yeah, that is a new one. Yes, that is a new one. Oh, and we just got it. You're right. Absolutely. GSM times 2 is actually Andy. I'm going to do the unheard of. I'm going to unmute you, the guest. Andy, also, guys, a few weeks ago, we were talking about this. We talked about a UK magazine, geocaching magazine coming out. And weirdly enough, and I hand to God, I talked to Andy maybe in like February, March, maybe like February, months ago we talked. And this was this even a gleam in your eye? You mentioned none of this when we talked the first time.
It was a little gleam.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I get this thing like this new geocaching magazine coming out in the UK, and I look and it's freaking Andy. I'm like, Andy, you got a magazine coming.
It's all about me. It's all about me.
And it's controversy. And so Andy has got a magazine coming out. Which, a quick rundown of it. I'll give you more time, a different show.
Yeah, sure.
When it comes out, but let's rundown.
I've actually just a few hours ago I did a blog post all about the genesis of the magazine, as in me and my friend Jane, who've known each other since we were 13, 14. We were Beatles pen friends, and anyway, good long story short, she's an editor, publisher. I'm a geocacher, and for years she's been persuading me to have some sort of project to work on. It was she who persuaded me to start the blog. And then it was when there was a magazine called the UK Cache Mag, which sadly, pardon the pun, folded. And we saw the opportunity. Thought, right, okay, there's now a gap in the market, and we decided to go for it. So we brainstormed and we debated and discussed the nature and the angles we're going to go for, and the name. Came up with Pinpoint, and so we are launching Pinpoint with a Kickstarter funding campaign next month. Starts on 21st of May. And I invite your listeners the world over to join us and support us and subscribe to Pinpoint, which will be a quarterly print magazine.
Okay, and please, when you have the Kickstarter, shoot me an email. I will gladly talk about it on the show and point my listeners to it. Happily do that.
Thank you.
And when's the first issue supposed to come out?
The first issue will be, we're aiming to mail it out in July, so we're very early. We're preparing thoroughly to make sure, because a sustainable magazine, one that's funded properly, that has quality content and photography in it. So the first issue will be mailed out to subscribers in July, and will be available to anyone who available for people to buy who come to the UK mega events in the West Midlands and UK in early August.
Okay, all right. So then, end of the summer, end of July, early August. You get a hold of me. We'll talk. We'll get you back on this show. All right.
It's a deal. It's a deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, Andy. Okay, you hold on a second. You wait there. All right, back on you for Andy. Chad. Ian coming back on the show. Thank you for having the chat. I think it was just sometimes too about Andy. I totally forgot about the magazine. Vince, where can we subscribe? We're gonna let you know, Vince. Don't worry, we're gonna let you know. Andy, if you want, you could just send me an email if you have these answers, and I could talk about next week's show. But thank you, GSM says you. We're gonna have On a Boat on the show talking about Geoclash. It's version 2. I think this is their second year, Jesse, isn't it, for Geoclash?
Yeah,
last year was the
inaugural.
First of all, I gotta stop. I'm going to add I'm suing somebody to my favorite Scott is. That's t-shirt. Okay, so Ian's coming on the show next week, guys. Saturday, I don't think Saturday Chad show, Saturday Chad, Jesse, anybody show, Jesse. We have kids.
We could do a show.
We have kids.
Are we doing it?
Saturday show. You in, Chad?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we got nothing planned, but
we could do something.
We'll figure something out. Okay, Saturday show, guys. I'll put it in the. I'll remind you guys in the. Wait, isn't that GeoBash? Isn't what GeoBash?
No, Geoclash is not GeoBash.
Geoclash is not GeoBash. Geoclash is not GeoBash.
Geoclash sounds really fun. I'm looking forward to it.
When is Geoclash? Geoclash is June 10th.
June
10th. And GeoBash is July. That's right. Different events. So, guys, there you go. That's I'll get it on social media to remind you guys about Saturday night to join us. We're gonna have some fun on Saturday night doing nothing. So it should be a good time. And that's about it. Let's close the show. Andy, thank you so much for coming on. Jesse, Chad, thank you guys. And everybody in the chat, you guys were awesome. Thank you so much for poking the bear with Andy tonight. So thank you so much. Let's get Andy get to sleep. So let's close off this show, guys. Give me 1 second. Let me just get there we go. Here we go. All right. Please join us again every Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central as we stream live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on our website, geocachingpodcast.com. The archive video versions of our podcast are available on our website or on our YouTube channel, and the audio versions are available on your favorite podcatcher. If you like the show, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe. We really appreciate it, and it really helps the show when you do. If you prefer to watch the show, make sure you click the subscribe to get notified buttons to know exactly when we go live. And hey, if you haven't already, please consider becoming a patron of our show. With tiers starting as low as $3, you get a ton of additional information, extra video, extra audio, only available to our patron members. Please head on over to patreon.com today and subscribe. That's patreon.com/the Geocaching Podcast. Thanks once again to our sponsors, Cachely, Logwork, FTF Geocacher Magazine, the Max Heads Body Company, Practical Geocaching, Arted Crafted, PathTags.com, Geocaching Adventures LLC, and GeoGo. Please visit our sponsors, and when you make a purchase, you tell them the GCPC sent you. Seriously, tell them the GCPC sent you. That's all we got this week, so we'll see you next week talking geocaching, taking your phone calls. In the meantime, be good, be safe, hug your loved ones, and we will talk to you guys next week. And we're clear. There we go. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Where is Geoclash? Geoclash is in Ohio. That's where sorry, I'm just seeing that.
We'll learn all about it next week.
We'll learn all about it next week.
I'm looking forward to it.
You stay on. Join us next week. We'll learn all about it. All right, guys. We're gonna sign off. Andy, stay on. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you guys on Saturday for a fun show on Saturday. So be well and be safe.